Hi, I'm Dr. Maxine Bryan, the virtual professor. As a matter of fact, I like to call myself your virtual professor. Well, happy February. So now we're about in the middle of February, and I hope that you've been doing some studying, some reading, some enjoying some Black history type of events that may be going on in your city. In the city of Savannah, we have events going on almost every single day during the month of February to commemorate Black History Month. So, if you will recall, if you joined me last time, you know that I started out with our history in Africa and I traced the history, if you will, at least somewhat, of Kemet, what we now call Egypt or the Egyptians. Today, I want to visit history in the continent of of America, specifically the United States of America. And I want to talk about some of our heroes and zeros in the African American community that you may or may not know about. As I mentioned before, we come from strong, good stock. We really have ancestors who were inventors, who were people who built temples and who built the pyramids and who designed the language that people are still trying to figure out, right? So I want to continue celebrating people in the United States who were born of African descent, and many of them had grandfathers and grandmothers and great grandmothers and great grandfathers who were enslaved people. So, for example, have you ever thought about the ironing board? You know, when you're ironing clothes on an ironing board, who designed that? The contemporary design that we have now. It was a Black woman. Her name is Sarah Boone. As a matter of fact, Miss Boone was one of the first Black women to receive a patent. And that patent was for the design of the ironing board that we use today. How many of you absolutely hate the lawnmower? You hate cutting grass because you don't want to push the lawnmower, right? Well, imagine what they did before the automatic lawnmower, right? Well, who invented the lawnmower? A Black man named J.A. Burr. Now, can you imagine what life was like for those people who were driving cars and they were trying to get from one place to the next, and the stoplights were not like what we have now? But there was a Black man named Garrett Morgan who saw the amount of accidents that were going on, and he designed the 3-light system that we have now: red, yellow, and green. He's a Black man. He also designed the gas mask, and he improved the sewing machine. Now, how many of you enjoy sitting back in your easy chair with the remote in your hand, flipping through the channels? Well, guess who invented the remote? A Black man named Joseph Jackson. Now, we all prefer, many of us prefer to ride the elevator as opposed to going up the stairs. Now, not me, I'm taking the stairs all the time now. I got to get my steps in, but nevertheless, I digress. So, have you ever thought about what have elevator doors always automatically opened? No. And after almost losing his daughter to the old-fashioned elevators where you had to open the doors yourself, a guy by the name of Alexander Miles, Black man, invented the automatic elevator doors. Now today we go to our refrigerator and we open it up and we close it and we don't think anything about it until it goes bad, right? But as long as it's working right, we're good. Well, who invented the refrigerator? A Black man, a guy named J. Standard. We invented the concept of refrigeration to keep things cold, particularly in trucks. Now, I know you all think that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. What you don't know is that the light bulb that Thomas Edison invented would only last for a few days. Then it had to be replaced. But that was not cool. It was a Black man, a guy named Lewis Latimer, who invented the carbon light bulb filament that allowed the light bulbs that we still use today to be able to last a longer time than a few days. Right? Now, Here's something I bet you didn't know. How many of you have a home security system? Mhm. The system with the camera, the system that lets you know who's at your door. Guess who invented that? In 1966, a black woman by the name of Mary Van Brittany Brown invented the home security system. Who knew? Now, I talked about the refrigerator earlier by Jay Standard. Now, trucks needed to be refrigerated to go long distance and carry food stuff across the country. There was a guy named Frederick Jones, black man, who invented that. Now, I can remember this next thing. Okay, I get excited with this one. Listen, I came up, I'm dating myself now, where we had rotary telephones and you never knew who was on the other end until you said hello. Then we got push button telephones, but you still didn't know who was on the other end until after you answered. Then caller ID came and call waiting. So you could put a person on hold, answer another call, and then decide if you wanted to go back to the first person. Guess who invented that? Shirley Ann Jackson, black woman, bam. You know, we had to figure out a way to have multiple conversations, right? She was the first woman to receive a doctorate from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and she invented caller ID and call waiting. Black woman, Shirley Ann Jackson. Now, I can remember a while back when I was in undergrad, as a matter of fact, I had a computer. My parents were so proud. They bought me a computer, and it just had a black and white screen, right? No color to it, no nothing. But guess who designed the color computer monitors? A black man, guy named Mark Dean. You know, we had to put some color into something, right? That was in 1980. And then the first gigahertz processor. You've heard of gigahertz, right? A black man, Mark Dean, did that too. That was in 1999. So you see, we're still inventing, we're still creating, we're still being the great people that we are. You have so many people in the United States of America who are magnificent influencers. Kimberly Crenshaw came up with the term, coined the term intersectionality, which forced our country to recognize that being black and female and maybe underclass in terms of economics forms an intersection that is often forgotten, overlooked, invisible, right? But those forces come together to create an oppression that is hard to put your finger on. Brian Stevenson, now many of you know the movie Just Mercy. Guy named Brian Stevenson, black guy. He's a lawyer and he defends people who are on death row. And now we have the movie about his life, right? And if you get a chance, get the book. It's really, to me, even better than the movie. There's a line in the book that talks about capital punishment. And someone told this to Brian. Capital punishment means those without capital get punished. Think about that, right? I know you all know the name Michael Eric Dyson, one of the great minds of our times, one of the greatest black intellectuals that's contemporary in our time. Angela Davis, need I say more? That girl defended herself against the system and won. Cornel West is known as a radical, controversial philosopher, but he's committed to speaking truth to power. And let me talk for a moment about Henry Louis Gates. Now, you all may remember him. He was arrested on his own porch in his own house for going in. A neighbor saw him and didn't know who he was and called the police, who questioned him about why he was there. Sound familiar? Anyway, he's also the proprietor of a series that's that you can find on Netflix and other places. It's called Many Rivers to Cross. We have so many examples in the African American community about people who have done great things. Know your history, know yourself. I was talking to a dear friend of mine who happens to be a person with a criminal history, and he lied on his application to get into grad school and said that he did not have a felony. Now, that was not true. But what he decided, and I'm not advocating for this at all, but here's the point I'm trying to make. What he decided was, if I get my education, even if they punish me for it, they can't take away what I have learned. Once you know it, nobody can take it away from you. Know your history. Know where you come from. Take pride in who you are. You are a great people, right? Happy February. Happy Black History Month. Enjoy this month and every month thereafter, because actually there would be no American history without Black history. Am I right about? So I have a poem, excerpt of a poem that I wrote to commemorate those African Americans who have contributed significantly to our contemporary way of living. It's called Dreaming the Dream. And this is just a part of it, but I want to share it with you. African Americans have been dreaming for centuries. Our ancestors dreamt of freedom for people who look like you and me. Sarah Boone dreamed of freshly pressed clothes when she invented the ironing board. And J.A. Burr saw manicured yards when he invented the lawnmower. Stoplight inventor Garrett Morgan dreamed of cars stopping and moving in sync to get from here to there. And Joseph N. Jackson invented the remote control after dreaming of changing channels while sitting in his chair. Alexander dreamed of an easier way to go up and down the stairs when he invented the elevator. And keeping perishable goods fresh was the dream of J. Standard, who invented the refrigerator. So you see, from baby buggies to fire extinguishers to knobs on doors to guitars to mops to steam engine lubricators, our people have been inventing and dreaming. We were determined to stay woke. Nah, there's nothing new about dreaming for us as Black folks. Keep the dream alive. Not Martin Luther King's dream, your dream. What are you dreaming about? This is Dr. Maxine Bryant. I am your virtual professor, changing society one class at a time. Know your history. Enjoy your day.